What if I told you there's a Chinese SUV so advanced, some automakers probably wish it never existed? This thing packs luxury-level tech, aggressive styling, insane interior features, and a price that could seriously shake up brands like Tesla, BMW, and Mercedes-Benz. But here's the twist: most people in America barely know it exists. So is this forbidden SUV actually better than the competition, or is it just another overhyped challenger trying to steal attention? Today, we're taking a deep look at the SUV everyone's talking about, and by the end, you might completely rethink what a modern SUV should be. For years, Chinese car brands were mostly known for building cheap copies of popular vehicles. But that image is changing fast, and this SUV might be the biggest proof yet. Companies from China are now investing billions into electric vehicles, luxury interiors, artificial intelligence, and advanced driver assistance technology, aiming directly at some of the biggest names in the auto industry. The SUV we're looking at today is designed to compete with heavy hitters like Tesla, BMW, Mercedes-Benz, and even Range Rover. And honestly, at first glance, it doesn't look like a budget alternative at all. The styling is bold, futuristic, and premium. The cabin feels more like a luxury lounge than a traditional SUV, and the technology inside pushes far beyond what many mainstream brands currently offer. What makes this story even more interesting is how quickly Chinese automakers are improving. Just a few years ago, most buyers in the United States wouldn't have seriously considered a Chinese SUV. But now, these companies are producing vehicles with massive digital displays, luxury materials, advanced software, and impressive electric range, often at prices that seriously undercut the competition. And that raises a huge question. Are traditional automakers actually prepared for this level of competition? Because on paper, this SUV looks incredibly impressive. But flashy features and marketing claims don't always translate into a great real-world experience. So in this video, we're going beyond the hype. We'll break down the design, interior, performance, technology, comfort, pricing, and the biggest strengths and weaknesses to see whether this forbidden SUV is truly better than the competition, or just another internet sensation. The moment you see this SUV on the road, it's obvious Chinese automakers are no longer playing it safe. The design is sharp, aggressive, and futuristic in a way that instantly grabs attention. Up front, you get ultra-slim LED lighting, a massive illuminated grille design, and sculpted body lines that make the SUV look far more expensive than it actually is. Honestly, if you removed the badge, a lot of people would probably assume this was a high-end European luxury SUV. But the real surprise begins once you step inside. The cabin feels like a combination of a futuristic tech studio and a luxury first-class lounge. There are huge digital displays stretched across the dashboard, ambient lighting glowing throughout the interior, soft-touch materials almost everywhere, and seats that look incredibly premium. Some versions even offer reclining rear seats, built-in fragrance systems, advanced voice assistants, and massive panoramic roofs that completely transform the experience inside the cabin. And here's where things get really interesting. Many of these features are either optional extras or simply unavailable on some of the established competition unless you spend a lot more money. Performance is another area where this SUV genuinely shocks people. Depending on the version, power output can easily compete with premium electric SUVs already dominating the market. The acceleration delivers that instant electric punch the moment you hit the throttle, and the silence inside the cabin makes everything feel even more futuristic. Around the city, it glides quietly over rough pavement, and on highways, the suspension feels surprisingly smooth and composed for such a large vehicle. Then there's the technology. This thing is packed with cameras, sensors, automated parking systems, adaptive driving features, and AI-based software that constantly monitors the driving experience. Some versions can even remember parking routes or assist in heavy urban traffic with minimal driver input. Whether every feature works perfectly in the real world is another question, but there's no denying the ambition here. Now, it's not all perfect. One issue some drivers immediately notice is that the heavy focus on touchscreen controls can become frustrating while driving. Simple tasks like adjusting climate settings or seat controls sometimes require multiple taps through menus instead of physical buttons. And while the software looks visually impressive, long-term reliability is still a major unknown compared to brands with decades of proven track records. There's also the question of trust. Many buyers still hesitate when they hear the words Chinese SUV, especially in markets where these brands are still relatively new. Resale value, service support, software updates, and long-term durability are all things people naturally worry about before spending serious money. But despite those concerns, the overall package is shockingly competitive. Because when you compare the luxury feel, technology, performance, electric range, and pricing against established rivals, this SUV starts looking less like an alternative and more like a direct threat. In some areas, it honestly feels like traditional automakers are already falling behind. But everything changes the moment you actually drive this SUV back to back against some of the established competition. Because on paper, impressive specs are one thing. Real-world driving is where most newcomers usually fall apart, and honestly, this is the part nobody expected. The acceleration is brutally quick. The second you press the pedal, the SUV launches forward with the kind of instant torque you normally expect from high-performance EVs costing far more money. But what's even more surprising is how refined it feels while doing it. There's very little road noise, the cabin stays calm at highway speeds, and the suspension absorbs rough pavement far better than many people would assume from a relatively new brand. Then comes the technology test. The giant screens, AI systems, cameras, and driver assistance features initially seem like flashy gimmicks. But after spending real time with the SUV, some of these systems actually feel ahead of what certain legacy automakers currently offer. The voice assistant responds quickly, the camera quality is excellent, and features like automated parking and adaptive driving support make daily driving feel genuinely futuristic. But then the weaknesses begin to appear. Push the SUV harder through corners, and you can feel the weight. The steering doesn't always communicate the road as naturally as some German rivals, and certain software menus still feel more complicated than they need to be. There are moments where you can tell this company is moving incredibly fast, but maybe not every detail has been fully perfected yet. Still, the biggest surprise isn't the performance. It's the value. When you step back and compare what you're getting, the luxury interior, advanced technology, aggressive styling, electric range, and performance, this SUV suddenly starts making some well-known competitors feel overpriced. And that's the moment where this review completely changes direction. Because this is no longer just a good Chinese SUV. This feels like the beginning of a major shift in the global car industry, and traditional automakers may have a much bigger problem than they expected. So after looking at the design, technology, performance, comfort, and overall value, here's the final verdict. This SUV is far more than just hype. It's not perfect, and it's definitely not going to replace every luxury SUV overnight, but it proves something incredibly important: Chinese automakers are no longer trying to catch up. In many areas, they're already competing at a level that should make traditional brands very nervous. The biggest strengths here are easy to see. The interior feels genuinely premium, the technology is impressive, the electric performance is smooth and fast, and the amount of equipment you get for the price is honestly difficult to ignore. For buyers who love futuristic tech, bold styling, and luxury features without paying ultra-premium prices, this SUV makes a very strong argument for itself. But there are still real concerns. Long-term reliability remains a question mark, software complexity could frustrate some drivers, and dealership or service support may not match what established brands currently offer in the US market. And for buyers who prioritize driving feel and proven reputation above everything else, traditional German or American competitors may still feel like the safer choice. What makes this SUV truly important, though, is what it represents for the future of the automotive industry. Just a few years ago, the idea of a Chinese SUV competing directly with Tesla, BMW, Mercedes-Benz, or Range Rover would have sounded ridiculous to many people. Now, it feels almost inevitable that these brands will become a serious force in the global market. And that pressure could actually benefit everyone. Because more competition usually leads to better technology, better pricing, and faster innovation for consumers everywhere. So the real question is no longer whether Chinese SUVs are improving. The real question is, how long will it take before mainstream buyers fully accept them? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Would you actually buy a Chinese luxury SUV over a Tesla, BMW, or Mercedes-Benz? And if you enjoyed this review, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next big automotive showdown.